Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
Last offseason, the Houston Rockets made a lot of really good choices, hiring head coach Ime Udoka, signing Dillon Brooks in free agency, signing Fred VanVleet in free agency, drafting Amen Thompson, drafting Cam Whitmore, and that led them to go 41-41 in the NBA this season. That led them to also be 11th in the Western Conference, which is not bad to be a Western Conference team, and they also had that push to make the play-in. Now, when we look at this team, I think they have a lot of really good young talent to the point where they're going to have to narrow it down, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to do that this season. I feel as though they should really go a full season with their young talent and see what they have. But we're going to get into that later. If we look at the roster, some of the notable players, in my opinion, is Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Fred VanVleet, Dillon Brooks, Alperen Sengun, Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, and Tari Eason. Now, I think you have a good core set of young players. You also have Brooklyn's pick, which is the number 3 pick in the NBA draft. Whether you want to go Reed Shepherd, Dalton Knecht, Ron Holland, who cares? Who cares? I feel as though you have a lot of really good young talent on this team, and it kind of reminds me of the Oklahoma City Thunder in the point of you have so much trade pieces. You also have the number 1 guy that you feel as though can lead you to the NBA Finals, and that's Alperen Sengun. That is Alperen Sengun. And if we look at his averages this season, he averaged 21 points, 9 rebounds, and about 5 assists per game. And with the way that the NBA is headed towards, the way that the NBA is shifting with guys like Joel Embiid and Victor Wembanyama and Nikola Jokic and Chet Holmgren and Domantas Sabonis, this is the perfect center to have. This is the perfect number 1 option to have. Now, Jalen Green, when we look at his stats, he averaged about 20 points per game, about 3.5 rebounds, or about 5 rebounds and 3.5 assists. When we look at his shooting numbers, he was about, he was about 42% from the field and 33% from 3. Now, there was a point this season where Jalen Green looked absolutely unplayable. He was inefficient. He did not try on defense. He was a defensive liability on the team. And we know that that's not Ime Udoka's type of play style. He wants somebody that can come in and play defense, and Jalen Green just was not that until he had that stretch towards the end of the season where he had about 10, 11 games. The Rockets were on about a 10-game winning streak. He was averaging about 27 plus points per game, and we really saw a peak at the potential that Jalen Green could have. Now, we all know Alperen Sengun is the number 1 guy on this team. He's the number 1 guy. We thought it would be Jalen Green after what Alperen Sengun has shown us his past season. He did get injured a little early, but we know Alperen Sengun can be that guy, can be the guy that leads this team to a deep playoff run, whether it be an NBA Finals. We don't know. And Alperen Sengun at the moment is, I think he's 22 years old. To be completely honest, let me see if I can find it. 2002, July 25th. Yeah, he'll be 22 next month. So he'll come into the season at 22 years old. He still has a lot of time to grow. And building an offense around a playmaking big has shown to be an NBA championship worthy type of team. And the guys that are set up in the draft, I think is very good. I think Reed Shepherd is the perfect player to put next to Alperen Sengun. I also love a guy like Dalton Knecht. If Zachary Risachet were to fall to the number 3 pick, I think you run to the podium and go grab him, even though I think the Wizards are going to take him at number 2. There's been a lot of trade rumors around the Houston Rockets, whether it be them trying to send Jalen Green and a multitude of picks to the Brooklyn Nets for Mikal Bridges, whether it's they want to trade the 3rd pick and go get a star. But I feel as though they should really go down the route that the Oklahoma City Thunder have. Now, I'm not saying Alperen Sengun is going to make this impactful leap where he's second in MVP voting like SGA did, but I think you should see what you have with a fully healthy young core. You have guys like Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, Alperen Sengun, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith, Jalen Green, and now you have a number 3 pick, whether it's Reed Shepherd, Dalton Knecht, or Risachet. I think you should go a full 82 games trying to figure out what you have. And Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks, who were kind of like not thought of as one of the better free agent signings, just because you're paying these two guys all this money. But I think Dillon Brooks and Fred VanVleet really came in and helped set a culture for this Rockets team. And now we have guys like Amen Thompson who can guard on the perimeter, Tari Eason who can guard on the perimeter, Jabari Smith. If we look at his stats, he shot 45% from the field and 36% from three. If I take a look at Jabari Smith real fast, I just want to see if his numbers, his efficiency jumped from last year. So last year he was shooting about 30% from the 30% from three, shooting about 5 per game. This year he jumped up to 36, still shooting about 5 per game. And then last year he had 40% from the field, shooting about 45. That is the type of jump that I would like to see, because in my opinion, Jabari Smith is not the number one option on this team. He can always be a stretch four, but I think being a spot up shooter, being a decent defender, decent rebounder. If we look at his rebounding per game, he averaged about 8 rebounds this season, which that can always go up. He averaged 7 in his rookie season, which is really good in my opinion. Especially be a 6'8" type of combo forward, just being played at the power forward position. So if we want to look, as a matter of fact, I want to look at, let's go back real fast. I want to look at their stretch, if I can find it. I want to look at their stretch where I think they won 10 straight games. If we could find it real fast. Okay, so this is the stretch right here. It was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 game win streak where they beat teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder. Do not think SGA played that game. They beat teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers and the San Antonio Spurs, which was a really good game. And they didn't play much talent. They played the Kings, who ended up not making the playoffs, but I still felt as though it was a really good team. So if we look at Jalen Green's game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, I just want to look at the box score for that matchup. Let's go down real fast and let's just look at that box score real quick. So Jalen Green, 37 points against Oklahoma City Thunder. This is just what I feel as though could be a setting stone for what Jalen Green could be. Obviously, he's extremely athletic. We have to work on the efficiency, hitting that outside shot. He could put the ball on the floor. The athleticism is what really gives me hope that he could be a very good player. I mean, he shot 14 for 24, and then he was 7 for 11 from 3, which was 63%. And then he also added 10 rebounds and 7 assists. So the amount of production he was giving you in that 10 game stretch would not lead me necessarily towards the way of let's trade him, because right now I could understand where a lot of people are like, we should trade him now because his trade value is as high as it's been since he has came into the NBA. I could understand that. Maybe he gets traded this offseason, which I don't think will happen, but you have to give this young team a chance. I think Ime Udoka is solidified in his coaching job for the next few seasons. I think you give this team a chance. And in my opinion, I think this team is going to get a lot better with a fully healthy Alperen Sengun. Maybe Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun are working together this offseason to really figure out what works, especially with Jalen Green being the dominant perimeter player that he is and Alperen Sengun being the dominant post player he is. He actually gave Victor Wembanyama, I think there was 45 this season, whether it was just banging down low in the post, hitting the outside shot, making plays for other players. And he's such a good player when it comes to getting to the free throw line. That's one thing Sengun is really good at. He can pump fake at the mid-range shot, drive in, get the foul as soon as the defender jumps in the air. But I feel as though he's really good at getting to the free throw line. He's really good at kicking out to the open man, whether it be a guy like Reed Shepherd coming in or whether it be Fred VanVleet, whether it be Jalen Green. I just think you can get so creative with this offense, having a guy like Jalen Green who's so athletic. He can hit the outside shot we see from this stretch. I just think you give it a season. Now, let's say Jalen Green's going back to his old self. He's giving you the 19, 20 points per game, but it's extremely inefficient. He's a defensive liability. Then you can open the door on talking again. If he's playing that way and you guys are losing games, I think you can open the door again. But I feel as though you go into this season, you pick up the proper play, you re-sign everybody you need to re-sign, you go get Reed Sheppard in the draft, and you push this team forward to really try and make a playoff setting. And in my opinion, you kind of have two candidates to be the starting point guard for the future. Now, Fred VanVleet is a great player. I don't necessarily think that he is going to be the point guard of the future for this team. I think it's between Amen Thompson and Reed Sheppard. Reed Sheppard has shown to be a combo guard at the collegiate level. He's very dangerous off ball, but I also think he's a very good playmaker with the ball in his hand. And he's so dangerous off ball, in my opinion, to where if he gets the ball on a catch and shoot scenario, if you close out or if you don't close out properly, he's going to drive past and he can either hit that mid-range or he can dish it down to a guy like Sengun or a guy like Jabari Smith or a guy like Cam Whitmore and Amen Thompson who could be cutting for the lob, or he can drive in and make that mid-range shot. And if you're lazy on the closeout, he's going to burn you from three. So I think it's so dangerous to guard Reed Sheppard, especially to the point where if you have Alperen Sengun low post on a switch and they have to come send help, now Reed Sheppard's open. Now guys like Fred VanVleet's open. Now Jabari Smith is open. So you have a lot of different opportunities to make this team very dangerous on the offensive side of the ball. And then you bring in a guy like Steven Adams, who is a very good paint protector, and he's going to be very good for this team next season. He was injured last year, but to bring him off the bench when Sengun's not playing to get a more stronger, taller rim protector, because I don't think that's where Alperen Sengun really shines on the defensive side of the ball. He could be solid, but I don't think that's where he really shines. Now, if we look at their offensive rating this season, they were 20th out of 30th at 114.5. I think that could be a lot better this season. I think they could be a top 15 offensive rating type of team. And I think their defensive rating, top 10 in the league. Net rating, about middle of the pack. I think with this defensive rating, it can stay exactly where it is because you have guys like Dillon Brooks, Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore has shown defensive potential. You also have Tari Eason, and now Steven Adams is coming in. Now you have the center who can bang with guys like Embiid or Jokic, at least at a physical level. At a physical level, that's what I think they can do. So I think the Houston Rockets are set up pretty well, in my opinion. In my opinion, you don't trade the number 3 pick. You see what you have in your young players. You see what you have with your young players, because let's say you go out and a guy like Jimmy Butler, this is just a hypothetical, I don't think this is going to happen. Let's say you get out on the market and a guy like Jimmy Butler is available. Jimmy Butler is from Houston. I think Houston could be a top 3 candidate to go land a guy like Jimmy Butler because they have the assets. If I'm Miami, maybe I want the 3rd pick, Cam Whitmore, and maybe some future first. You are putting yourself in championship contention very, very, very early, very fast. Now you're expecting guys like Alperen Sengun to make a serious jump when it could be a lot more natural if he was just able to grow as a player before we really get that championship expectation. The championship expectation is not next season. It's not next season. So in my opinion, if I'm the front office, if I'm Ime Udoka, I want to see what I have with my guys. I want to see what I have. With a fully healthy team, we have the perimeter defenders, we have the low post defenders, we have the floor spacers, we have the number 1, we have the number 2. Let's see if we can make a play-in. Let's see if we can get into that top 6 in the West. It's a hard task. It is a very hard task because when we look at teams like who are going to be better, let's see, the Pelicans are going to get a lot better. They're going to be healthy because they were a 5th seed before they got injured. The Memphis Grizzlies are going to get a lot better. The Spurs are going to get better. The Rockets are going to get better. You have to imagine the Warriors and the Kings are going to get better. The Lakers are going to get better. The Oklahoma City Thunder are going to get better now that they've had that full season and they know what they need. And they also have another lottery pick. So a lot of teams are going to get better in the West. So to make a playing game, to make a top 6 seed in the West, which I think is a little bit of a stretch, but if you can make a playing game, maybe if you're the 9th seed, you win a game and then you lose a game, that's a successful season, in my opinion. You see what you have with these young guys, and you carry it on from there. If you guys like this type of content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot of off-season previews now that the NBA season is officially over, and I'm out. Peace.